Hello, hello, hello. My name is Cupid, and today we're going to be talking about my favorite philosopher. She one time said something that I quote all the time when I'm philosophizing, and it goes like this: HOTTOGO, you can take me hot to go. Words of wisdom, truly. Yeah, today we're going to be talking about Chappell Roan because, well, everyone seems to hate her, and usually when everyone seems to hate a woman, I honestly just start liking them out of spite. I mean, I already liked her, but once, like, the misogyny happens, like, I spite like them. I'm like, okay, well, now because everyone's just gonna, like, revert back to the dark eras, like, I'm just gonna support this woman. I don't even care. You're not going to be talking about Chappell Roan. Now, controversies aren't exactly new for Chappell Roan. She's had a few come up in her time, which does make sense. She is kind of known for being very loud and vocal about how she feels and protecting her peace and her privacy, which, like, good on you, girl. Like, advocate for yourself, because clearly no one else is going to fucking do it. And so she's had a few controversies in her time. And although I think that those things, like I said, her being so outspoken were kind of why people liked her originally, it did get old for a lot of people very quickly. And I'm definitely going to touch on that later. But firstly, I want to talk about the current controversy she's in. So a couple weeks ago, soccer player Jorginho, he made an Instagram story. And it was talking about an interaction that his wife, Catherine, and his daughter, Ada, had with Chappell Roan. And basically what happened was Catherine and Ada were in Brazil, I believe, for Lollapalooza, if I'm not mistaken. And they happened to be at the same hotel as Chappell Roan, and they both saw Chappell there, obviously. And Ada, being a curious child, was like, oh, like, is that Chappell? So she walked past her, like, table, she, like, smiled at her, and that was it. That was the entire interaction. And Jorginho says what happens next is that Chappell's security guard actually walked up to his wife and his daughter and was like, hey, if you don't stop harassing Chappell Roan, I'm going to have to, like, complain to the hotel and get you guys kicked out. Like, you need to stop invading this girl's space. And they said that he was, like, very, like, hostile towards them, and his daughter literally started crying, which is, like, understandable. If some man came up to me because I smiled at someone and was like, you're gonna be punished for this, I'd be like, what? Harmph? Like, I thought this was okay, my bad. And so they told this, and people were understandably very upset about this, because, like, it's one thing to be mean to your fans, it's another thing entirely to, like, try and attack a child. That's a child, especially just for smiling at you. Like, that's crazy, and I completely agree that that is insane. However, that's not exactly what happened, at least not according to Chappell, right? Chappell took to Instagram to, tell her side of the story, and she basically said, like, I never authorized this. In her words, she was like, I never told my security guard to, confront this mother or this child because there wasn't a mother or child. She was like, I never saw anyone. So anything he did, I did not tell him because I never even noticed anyone.
I didn't even see a woman and a child. Like, I did not, no one came up to me. No one bothered me.
And she did seem pretty apologetic in her statement. She said, hey, like, whatever happened, like, you did not deserve this, right? And I'm incredibly sad that this had to happen to you because you just didn't deserve it, right? At the end of the day. Something I realized I mentioned later, but I don't actually talk about right now, so I'm just gonna, like, quickly address it. No one seems to know whose security guard this is. Chappell and her team are saying, no, like, this was not our security guard. But Catherine is saying that, like, no, she knows that he's worked with celebrities in the past. So that's also something that's kind of, like, iffy, is no one seems to know who the security guard belongs to, which does create, obviously, like, some more confusion. And I do want to quickly interject, too, that, like, there is more that was said by the other people after Jorginho's wife said something, but honestly, like, I'm not including it because it's just, it doesn't really add anything to the story literally at all. So but I did just want to say that there was, like, a bit of back and forth. Now, when it comes to this whole situation in particular, I do think that there's definitely a conversation to be had, right? Because, like, with the initial thing, I totally get why people were upset. I absolutely 100% get why people were upset at Chappell. Because, yeah, like, you know, a mother and a daughter, literally all the daughter did was smile at the singer, and then suddenly, like, you know, they had a hit on them, right? Like, that's crazy. And I do wonder if something else happened, because that does seem very lax. I'm not even 100% sure on what happened, but, like, that seems insane, right? Like, surely something had to have been missing, but also, like, maybe not. I don't know. I'm not, like, trying to speculate. It's just, like, this seems, like, crazy to react like that. But I wasn't there, so, you know. But I do think that there's definitely a conversation to be had about sort of creating a safe environment and, you know, knowing who you're employing, right? In Chappell's case, obviously, like, the security guard allegedly isn't her. It's back and there's no real confirmation. Catherine said that, like, this security guard has worked with artists before. Chappell saying it wasn't hers. So it's a he said, she said situation. But there is absolutely, like, a conversation to be had about kind of knowing a lot more about the people that you are employing, because there is this, like, common thing where people employ others and they just turn out to be, like, awful, right? And so I think that there's definitely something to be said about that. And I think there's absolutely something to be said about, like, fan celebrity interactions and, like, what is okay, what isn't okay. Are you even allowed as a celebrity to not respond positively when fans talk to you? Like, there is, like, a really big conversation about that. But, like, that's not the conversation that's being had, right? The conversation that seems to be being had right now is just kind of people shitting on Chappell Roan. And here's the thing, right? Like I said, I would get it if what had happened to a certain extent, but I also think people have just lost the plot. Because the way people were talking about Chappell Roan, you would genuinely think she walked up to an orphan, punted them into the sun, and then proceeded to blow the sun up, and then fed the remains of the sun to a pig. Like, I just fear the way we are talking about this and the way that we are speaking about Chappell Roan is not in line with how bad the situation actually was. Like, maybe this is just me, but I feel like some of us have, like, we just need to be, like, so fucking for real. I'm sorry. Oh my god, Chappell, is that you? Yes, it's me, Chappell Roan, known for singing songs about how gorgeous I think women are. God, I love women. Can I get an autograph, please? You know what? Why don't I give you something better? Oh my god, what? A piece of my mind, you little... Hey, can you hold this for me? Huh? What's this? A stick of dynamite. Oh, wait, what? And this is why I usually bring my firing squad. God, I hate those little maggots. Now, I mentioned previously that this wasn't really her first controversy, and she has had a couple of other, like, mini controversies, specifically, like, revolving around how she has interacted with paparazzi. And here's the thing, right? I'm always going to be an avid hater of paparazzi. I hate the pops. Do I have any experience with them? Well, no. But, like, come on, they suck. Celebrities have been telling us they suck for years, and I am inclined to believe, just based off what I've seen and the lengths that some of these people are willing to go, it's, like, genuinely fucking insane. And I think when it comes to Chappell Roan, too, it's, like, really interesting because, like I said earlier, people really liked the fact that she was so outspoken. People really liked that we finally had this pop star that was willing to, like, nip these interactions with paparazzi in the bud. Like, people were loving, like, a true, like, loud and proud feminist who was going to advocate for herself. However, the issue was that, like, unfortunately for her, she dared to be a woman. She dared to be, how could she, right? All of these traits that people loved about her being outspoken and passionate and being so quick to put people in their places when they had overstepped her boundaries, these are traits that would be great if she was a man. People would have no problem with any of this if she was a man, which is, of course, because of our little friend, Misogyny, who floating around us like a fucking parasite, right? Chappell Roan is not allowed to exhibit any of these traits because the moment she acts in a way that people don't deem as perfect, these traits are suddenly awful. These traits suddenly prove that she's a bad person. And she's immediately going to be cast to the side just for another girl to replace her. Just for some girl who's going to be quiet, who's going to not say anything about what is happening because she knows that the moment she speaks up is the moment fans are going to turn on her, right? Like, people want a celebrity that's going to be loud and outspoken, but only for a brief period of time and only if they're going to do it in the parameters that they themselves have set. I've noticed there's this mindset of like, you should be okay with the paparazzi and like public perception because you like, this is the career you chose. Like, this is part of your job, basically. And I truly just think if that is your response to people like lashing out or people being very vocally upset about the fact that they have to deal with paparazzi, there has to be something wrong with your frontal cortex. You have to be like 13. Genuinely, you have to be 13 or either lack like so much empathy. Like, you've got to lack so much empathy that I'm looking at Jafar from Aladdin and being like, wow, he's a really kind and heartfelt soul. Because like, genuinely, like, I just don't think that someone should be getting like exploited and getting their privacy invaded because they want to like sing and dance, because they want to do a 1-step, 2-step, or because they want to like make a few silly jokes on screen, right? Like, that's just not, like, that doesn't make sense to me. It just doesn't compute in my mind, and maybe my mind is feeble and I just can't grasp, you know, the cosmic insights of why this is okay. But like, I just truly have such a hard time understanding that notion that like, because they are in a career that, you know, people do care about and they are in the spotlight, like, they should be okay with, like I said, literally just getting like their privacy invaded. Like, to me, that's never really going to be an exchange that works because they're still people, right? Like, okay, yeah, they're on the big screen. Yeah, they're going to all these glamorous events. And I do think that, you know, time and place, like, I do think there are some events where, yeah, you have to understand paparazzi is going to be there, right? Like, if you're going to the Grammys, yeah, people are going to like report on that, right? Like, there are certain times where I'm like, okay, you do have to understand, but I don't think that these are the times where celebrities are really lashing out. I think that they are lashing out when, you know, they're showing up at their house or when they're watching their children or when they are, you know, like I said, just ignoring any sort of boundaries that are just like essential for basic human decency, right? And then when celebrities lash out or celebrities talk about it, people either A, call them like crazy or like deranged for, you know, physically lashing out and like getting mad at paparazzi. And I do think you shouldn't physically assault them, but it's also like, I can kind of understand. Like, I wouldn't do it, but also I've never been in that situation. But I don't think we should be putting all the blame on celebrities when the paparazzi are consistently pushing them to their wits' end. Whoa, occupied. Oh my god, sorry. Wait. Oh my god. Are you international pop star Ivana Hamburger? Yeah. Oh my god, I love you so much. Okay, that's sweet, I guess, but seriously, can you close the door? Right. No, yeah, but first, we need a picture of you. We? Who's we? Yeah, we, like, I work for TMZ. TMZ? Wait a fucking minute. This isn't a public restroom. This is my house. How the hell did you get in here? Well, your sneaky link from last night left the door unlocked, so I just walked in. Side note, I'm so reporting on that, and I will have to slut shame you. Like, love you, queen, sorry, but you know how it works. Wow, and here I thought my privacy couldn't be more invaded. Look, if you don't leave in the next, 5 seconds, I'm calling the police. Wow, another celebrity being dramatic. Oh my god, fame has changed you so much. You don't know me! I know you're a bitch, and apparently a slut. Gee, sorry that I'm not happy that a stranger broke into my house. It's literally my job. I don't think it says you can invade people's homes in your contract. Actually, it does. Seriously? Yeah, it's right before the oath we have to take where we swear that we're only gonna choose the ugliest photos of celebrities when writing an article about them. Oh my god, I knew I wasn't ugly. Well, that's debatable. Fuck you. Oh my god, can I at least just get a photo with you first? Get out! I also think it's really interesting, when we look specifically at, Chappell's last controversy and like just the paparazzi as a whole and people's kind of reaction to them, because people were so upset that Chappell was ruining a child's day or something. Meanwhile, the paparazzis don't give a fuck about children. We have women like Hilary Duff or Selena Gomez who talk about how uncomfortable the paparazzi were making them feel when they were literal teenagers. Why are we following Selena Gomez on a beach while she's just trying to have fun and taking pictures of her in a bikini, right? Why are we making her feel that uncomfortable, right? Why is there no outrage to that, but there's outrage to Chappell's security guard doing something, right? Or we have Kristen Bell and Dax Shepard, who talked about the fact that the paparazzi were quite literally following their children. Like, huh? Mind you, these children aren't famous too. Like, it's their parents who are famous. And we're sitting here being like, we can grasp the concept of what is and isn't okay. But when it comes to the paparazzi, people just ignore them because it almost feels like letting celebrities suffer to prove a point is more important than actually protecting people. And now we finally have someone who is consistently vocal about celebrities overstepping boundaries. A lot of times we had celebrities talk about it or, like I said, be like assertive in the moment, but it was always paparazzi stepping out of line when celebrities were like off the clock, out of work, they weren't doing a thing. But we have Chappell, who even will correct them when she's at an event because they are not treating her like a person. And like, we have other celebrities literally mentioning this and literally being like, yeah, like, look at what Chappell has done for the industry. I can't remember who it was. I remember there was some red carpet event where there was a celebrity and she literally said, damn, like, Chappell put y'all in your place. Like, y'all are being so respectful. I think it was like Zara Larson or something. But it's like, we finally have someone who is trying to make a difference, trying to better, the lives of anyone in the industry, including children. And yet people are just so pissed at her for doing that because they would rather celebrities suffer than acknowledge the fact that there are people who are making a paycheck from exploiting others. I'm sorry, you could not pay me enough money to invade someone else's privacy, especially if they are a child. Because that's fucking weird. And I'm really glad that she's trying to change. Now, I'd like to note that, like, I'm not defending Chappell Roan because I am this die-hard Chappell Roan fan. Like, I love her and I've loved her for years. But I'm not defending her simply because I am a fan of her. I'm defending her because, to me, Chappell Roan and the hate she's getting now is just kind of something that happens again and again and again with women in the industry, is that anytime they do something that someone doesn't like, it's suddenly this big fucking thing. And there's this whole smear campaign run against them. And suddenly people just have amnesia and forget all of the good that they've done up until now. And like, in a world where our president fucks children, a Nazi can hit number 2 on the Billboard charts, and someone who beats women can, sell out stadiums or whatever. Like, the fact that we seem to care more about Chappell and her bodyguard getting mad at someone else, not even her, just says a lot about where we are as a society. And it sucks because it would be one thing if I was just hearing this from, like, conservatives, right? I don't give a fuck what conservatives are saying because, well, why would I? But it's like even people who Chappell Roan, like, is trying to, like, help, like, queer people or even people who, really pride themselves as being, like, a feminist, suddenly forget being a feminist means even women you don't like when it comes to Chappell Roan, or even when it just comes to celebrities who are currently in a smear campaign. It feels like a lot of people's feminism only runs so deep. And it just sucks. It sucks, especially too because, like, I've heard this sentiment so often that people want a pop star who's like Chappell, want a pop star who's willing to speak her truth, to advocate for people and causes, and just be a real person and not this, like, manufactured product. But you don't want that. You aren't ready for that because you aren't ready for women to not act in a way that you like. You aren't ready for women to not be perfect. You aren't ready for women to not be this sort of perfect corporate machine, despite the fact that you say you are begging on your hands and knees that that is what you want. And Okay, that felt really personal because I was just saying you. I don't mean you. I feel like if you're watching this, you probably like Chappell Roan. I got very passionate for a second. I'm sorry. But it just genuinely does hurt me because I've seen this cycle happen so many times with so many different women. And it just sucks that, like, this isn't going to stop. And people are going to kind of, like, flip-flop how they feel. They're going to hate this when it's a celebrity they like. But the moment it's someone they don't like, suddenly it's like, yeah, fuck them. Despite the fact that, like, you know nothing about them. And it's just, are we ever going to reach a place where we can just, like, have a celebrity we don't like and just ignore it? Like, is that ever going to be a common thing? Because I just feel like the world would be so much better if we were like, look, I don't like you, I don't like your music, and vibe-wise, I'm also just not vibing with you. But that's okay. That is completely okay because I don't have to like you. You know, like, sometimes people make art and it's just not for you. And you can just, like, not consume it and be like, you know what? Hey, do I like this? No. Am I going to rant on Twitter about how you are the spawn of Satan? Also no, because I, have other things going for me. Like, that's what I would like, is if we could all just be like, I really love this, and talk about what we love. Can we not talk about what we hate? And it's just, especially, like I said, when it comes to Chappell, it's like, I feel like she's doing so much. I feel like she has this brand of being, like, mean, when all she's doing is just advocating for herself. And whenever women do that, people are so pissed. And I don't think that we should be getting pissed at a woman for standing up for herself. I think it is amazing that she is creating an environment where women in the future will also feel like they are able to, say, hey, I'm not comfortable with this. Hey, the way the paparazzi or the media or whoever's talking about me is not okay. Like, I think we should be praising her for doing this, if anything. I don't know. I hate seeing women get hate. I know that sounds so, I'm 6'5", by the way, and I read feminist literature. But no, I truly do, because it's always unwarranted. It is almost always unwarranted. It's always something so minuscule, and despite the fact it's so minuscule, I'm gonna hear people talking about it for the next 10 years. Because they just, like, I don't know, hate women. God. But yeah, I just, like, went on such a tangent. But I'm very, like I said, very passionate about all of this. I love pop culture. I hope everyone's having a great day. I hope everyone's thriving. I, like and subscribe, I guess. I should say that maybe. Heart emoji, smiley face emoji.